Welcome everyone to the Backlash podcast, our first episode of 2018. How'd you like that intro?
I liked it.
Yeah. We had a band, Creatures of the Wild, do that up for us, so you can give them a like on they have a Facebook page, if you wouldn't mind doing that. Give them some love. They gave us that nice intro. You're starting us off with our typical Around the Web segment. What's happening around the web?
How's your New Year's?
Oh, my New Year's. Well, it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, wait, no, what are you talking about? It's January 2nd.
Oh, man. Christmas was lots of fun. Santa was good to us with that virtual 8. Yeah.
Oh. If you haven't checked out that video, our Christmas special was the entire virtual holiday set. We review every card by card.
Yep.
And Santa makes a special guest appearance.
Woo.
So let's open it up with Around the Web, Scott. We've got the Raw Deal SG Facebook group, Facebook page. Keith over there has been doing alternate art sets throughout the whole, between Christmas and New Year's. Small superstar sets. He's doing alternate arts. Check that out. That's really cool of him. So I think he's did like a week's worth, so 7 or so, or 10.
So are those classic cards that he's reskinning?
Yes, it's only classic superstars. He did Jerry Lawler, Stacy Keebler, Home Team, a few others. Small sets, I think 10 cards or less. Just make it available. Kind of a a nice little gift to everyone. And
then you can go on there and copy them and just print them off.
Yeah, so actually in regards to the printing off, I had a user on TCO suggest just using Word. Microsoft Word, and then pasting it onto the sheets there, and then you can resize it and everything accordingly.
Yeah.
But I think you do it, and I think another player does it, where you take the existing virtual docs and just replace a card on there with a card that you see on the on Facebook or anything you want to use. So that's really exciting. But yeah, definitely check it out. He does regular weekly alternate arts and stuff there. It's a good little community. Okay, Virtual Holiday Set 3 Payback came out, as you would have seen on all over Team Canada Online, some Facebook groups, and right here with the Backlash podcast. We saw Bailey, Natalia, AJ Styles, Gallows and Anderson, Braun Strowman, Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre, which were the surprises, and the best wrestler in the world, a CM Punk remake.
Yeah.
It's all available to download on Team Canada Online.
I still haven't built any of them, but I don't know which one I want to tackle first.
I played 2 games with the AJ Styles deck, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And now the last thing I have to bring up, and it's a big conversation topic right now. It is... it started up on Discord, and now it's moved to Team Canada Online. And it's about, Gencon being the World Championships for Raw Deal. With all the kind of steam the Planet Funk Con tournaments building, being virtual classic only. It's a little convention, but it's only one Raw Deal tournament. It's on a Saturday. And Mick Foley might be there to present the winner. A user on TCO posted asking, what makes that event, being the Planet Funk Con, more interesting or appealing to the people that are thinking of going to this, and not Gen Con just 6 weeks later. And also he follows up in a little later saying, what can we do to make Gen Con more appealing to come? So I know you've posted on the thread there.
Yeah, I had a few reasons. Number one, obviously the cost. Gen Con, you have to pay for your admission. If you're just going for the World Champ, I still think it's like $40 or $50 just to get in for the day. Then you have the crowds. The Gen Con crowds that are there for board gaming and other tournaments. But with that comes along increased costs for other things like hotels that are close by.
Good luck getting them.
Indianapolis knows that Gen Con's happening, so prices are up, they fill up very quickly, things like that, right? So that ties back again into cost. This FunkCon's only one tournament, Virtual Classic, which is what we play in our area, so that's immediately why it appealed to us. If it was All Access or Virtual Revolution or NXT, we might not be all over it as we are. And it sounds crazy to drive down for just one tournament, but I mean, we drive one day, we stay and play one day, we drive back the next day. It's kind of a 3-day trip. I know someone has said Gen Con is like their holiday, or that's when they take their 1 week vacation. But for us, like we only have to miss 1 day of work potentially.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a nice thing. We don't have to take a whole week. It's just 1 day. Go down and play the one event, and then we can play side games all night Friday, all day Saturday night. So there's lots of time to play Raw Deal.
Because I don't know what else this convention has to offer. I haven't looked into it yet. But this is one tournament. We're only going down for the tournament, so you're not rushing to go see other things like what Gen Con would offer.
Yeah.
Like you had said in the thread, you play the legendary card game, Marvel Legendary. You would want to go play in that World Tournament because it offers a $10,000 cash prize, and it's not a constructed game. Like it's like a board game.
Yeah.
Where with this, I mean, you need to invest with what looks like 4 decks. You need to learn all those decks going into Worlds at Gen Con. And it's a lot of... I mean, I understand it where it's the World Championships, but, I mean, compared to what other active card games have for Worlds and the less time investment you need to put in, I'm not saying that Gen Con doesn't offer cool prizes or anything, but, like, I don't want to start playtesting for virtual all access and NXT format just because no one here wants to do it. I'm not going to do it for Worlds when these guys have active play groups that are doing that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they're trying to compare the cons to each other, like Gen Con versus FunkCon, but I'd almost prefer if it wasn't at FunkCon, right? Like if it was just in a hall somewhere, because then you don't have to pay your admission fee to go into this con. And I think that's another thing for me for Gen Con was that I really don't have a huge desire to go to Gen Con as an event itself. I would probably only go for Raw Deal. And it just seems so expensive to go for Raw Deal when you only have 10 to 15 players that are going to be there for a World's tournament. It's like...
And the side events, we were looking up the 2017 Gen Con side events, and the most players they had for one event was 7. One event had 4. I don't have it all in front of me. I did, but it's like there were no players. They didn't post any tournament results for a virtual Revolution tournament. I'm assuming they tried to get one off, and there weren't enough people, or it's just they missed out on it. So, I'm thinking with Worlds, like. For me, like I'd love to go to Gen Con I love conventions. I go to Fan Expo in Toronto every year. Gen Con, where it's like the pinnacle of board gaming and collectible card gaming, but not every company does Worlds at Gen Con. I did some research here, and I'm looking at Ultimate Fighting System, UFS, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Final Fantasy, Yu-Gi-Oh. Their Worlds are not at Gen Con. Some are invitation only. Some you could just come in and play, like all of the Fantasy Flight games. We're looking at Android Netrunner, Legend of the Five Rings, Game of Thrones. They hold it in their own private their building, but I believe anyone can come and play. The WizKids, I know you can just go and play, and they hold it at their own venue as well, and that's HeroClix, Dice Masters. That's the Attack Wing game. So, if Worlds wasn't at Gen Con, I would be way more inclined to do it, but I still don't think I would because of the decks required to play in it.
Yeah, and it's also a matter of location as well. Like, FunkCon and Gen Con are both within driving distance. If they were to move around Worlds and move it to California, where the Adam Kreitz Memorial Tournament is, or somewhere in Florida, just for the sake of moving it around, probably wouldn't go to those, because 2-day drive and 5-day drive or a flight, right? So,
but I mean, with California is a little different. You have family out there, so you could roll that into a vacation.
Yeah, I could, but the other 20 or 30 active players probably wouldn't, right? So,
you never know. It's different people approach Gen Con differently when it comes to vacations. So it depends on timing and when they do it. I mean, if they don't rely on it being at Gen Con, they could do it any time of year and maybe put out a public poll like they did for NXT. Yeah. They wanted to add a new format to Worlds, add a new deck archetype. Archetype. They wanted to add a new deck to that, and they took it to a public forum. What's to say that, say this year they don't get as well of a turnout again. They don't think it's like, okay, well maybe we should make it more accessible to people, because it's really expensive to go and play this and a lot of time consuming for a game that hasn't been produced commercially for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Not to discredit what they're doing for virtual and
keep it alive,
and then for the prizing as well, the alternate arts and like the DVDs and signature cards, like all that's great and all. I'm not asking for them to do a cash prize or anything, but for all the work you need to play it and the money you need to play to get to that venue and stay, I can't justify doing it for this game that I spend a lot of my free time on.
Yeah. So we'll see how FunkCon turnout is and what Gencon turnout is this year, and then maybe they'll discuss and see options going forward in 2019. I don't see them changing Gencon this year. But
oh, no, definitely not. But I'm really excited for this Planet FunkCon because I love conventions, so I want to see what else it's doing.
What else is going on.
Because if I lose in Swiss, I'm going to go navigate the crowds and just see what's going on there.
Yeah, that is a perk. There's something to do outside of the Raw Deal tournament.
But it's I'm excited for the idea to drive down a Friday morning. Then we have Friday evening to go mingle with all these other players. Grab a few pints and play some Raw Deal.
Drunken Raw Deal.
Oh yeah, I'll bring down my E&C table deck, just to have some fun and laid back, because they were talking about a replica title belt.
Yeah.
And I know they're working on other prizing, but without that title of Worlds there, you can it's more, I feel it would be more laid back.
Laid back, yeah.
Plus, if they get 20 to 25 people.
And the prizes isn't what's drawing me, right? It's not the title belt, it's not really Mick Foley, it's just that it's a one-day event within driving distance that 4 of us could go to. They'd only have to take 1 day off. It's just the guy's road trip.
Well, you don't care about Mick Foley because you have a signed chocolate bar wrapper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a good guy. Actually, it wasn't Mick Foley, it was Dude Love.
Oh, it was Dude Love?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, now you can get another.
Now I can add one to the collection. I only need 4 more to get all of his personalities. Right?
Mick was up in Collingwood, not this year, last year, for an independent wrestling event, and I got him to sign the Mick Foley Legend face card.
Oh, yeah.
They did the virtual 5 Legends. But what I really regret is not getting one of his handmade Mr. Sockos he was selling.
Yeah.
He had must have been 50 or so. I got the VIP, I'm like, gotta get this face card signed. And what I really like too is they didn't modify his ability. They modified his backstage area card, his other cards associated around. So I have this signed card that's not outdated.
Yeah, still, it didn't get MRP.
But that looks like that is it for around the web. Scott, what do you think of Payback?
It's exciting. Again, I haven't built anything yet. I did build up a big E deck. I was looking over waiting for the Payback release. I was like, I want to build a newer deck that I haven't looked at, so I built a big E deck. I'll get around to Payback within the next few weeks, I'm sure. But you built one Payback deck that we played last week?
Yeah, it was a few days ago on recording, and we actually recorded our games. We did a bit of a live stream, which that's something I think we should do a little more often. I try to carry all this stuff around with me wherever I go, but I got to play against you 2 games with my AJ Styles deck. I was really happy with how it worked out, but I think it might be because you were not happy with how your Seth Rollins deck is. But yeah, he's got the one pre-match card. I don't have it in front of me, but where it has the activated card effect that can't be countered, where you put a specific from hand or ringside on the bottom, a non-reversal card from ringside on the bottom, and draw a card.
Yeah.
That is a really potent card. I made the mistake. Well, not the mistake. It's playtesting, but on turn 1 you reverse my first maneuver, so I use the other ace where
you remove it from your ring.
Yeah, remove it from ring, and then search for a unique non-hybrid instead. So I got his 0 for 8 high risk. that I only played once.
Yeah.
I would have much rather had the hand cycling.
But yeah, live streaming was pretty cool because we had people picking up things that we were missing. Like the RMS symbol on New Day Rocks, I didn't even see it. I wasn't looking for it, but it's a great art on the picture, but there's just so much going on. I didn't see the little red symbol in the corner that I changed with Big E's ability. And then at one point I was using tricep meat and forcing my opponent to promo 2 cards so I could search, but it's not a force. You just allow them to promo, so they only do it if they want.
Like that late game?
Yeah.
Oh my god. You must promo. You must
promo. So we learned a few things, and it was my first time playing New Day, or Big E. Your first time playing AJ, so even you made a few play errors and reading cards wrong, but that's what playtesting was all about. It was a little sloppy, but...
but we had fun with it.
Yeah. And then after we played your 2 games with AJ, we decided to...
Like deconstruct
it and reconstruct it.
Yeah, like I was running them heal with a no-show, but my only heal cards were 3 managers and...
Shocking interference.
They can't search for with it. So let's just say I'm running a face AJ Styles deck now. I'm running 5 multi-reversals that I've never done that before. 3 once is enough to get the F-outs. And like that's huge. That's going to be a huge difference.
Yeah, get the F-outs also hit unique maneuvers too, which are just as virtual grows, it's only going to get a more powerful card. And multis, like we see in the virtual holiday set. Like Gallows and Anderson, Natalia, Bailey, AJ Styles, all have a handful of multi-maneuvers as specifics, right? So,
well, who knows when I'm going to start chucking around WWE Homecoming again? Those 5 for 5s.
Yeah. And I mean, with that other virtual card, the one we were talking about, that makes your face reversals -5 fortitude. And
playing by the rules.
Playing by the rules throwback, yeah, and it makes your opponent's heal reversals +5. Like that's a big swing for face decks where there's not much going on for heal on the other side, so.
It could be more favorable for heal if it wasn't a revolution of the mind deck for the strangleholds. But like I was running nerve holds and leg drags in it, and I cut them to go face for these better. Yeah, because
the problem with heal decks is when you're running manager with a Revo moveset, all your reversals do damage. So any decks that can only be reversed by D0s or of that nature, you're just going to eat everything, which is not fun.
No. So I build AJ. I want to build Gallows and Anderson next. Their ability is okay. I think that overturn 5 to ignore the reversal restriction is expensive, but it's not something you're going to be doing every turn.
No.
The lower hand, lower fortitude, and your opponent can only play 1 reversal to your multi's cool, because there's that allegiance that you can manipulate the lower fortitude effect.
Yeah.
And their backstage area card. And, other little trickery you could do help with that, with the lower hand. But a card I really dismissed right away that I think is really good is there more than what you bargained for mid-match reversal. You can only play it after your opponent has played a maneuver. You put it into his hand, and it's considered not played. Choose up to 2 cards in his ringside, put the chosen card into his hand, then choose up to 1 card in your ringside, put it under Omen in the Sky and end his turn. That first paragraph can only be played when your opponent has played a maneuver. You don't care. This card doesn't care what maneuver it is. It could be a clutch.
Or if there's a reversal restriction.
Right. You could play it against any trademark, anything that can only be reversed from Arsenal, anything that cannot be reversed. You name it, a multi that can only be reversed by 3 reversals. Like this, sure, it's going back to their hand, or Backlash if it's from there.
Yeah.
But, okay, you have a turn to kind of gather and manipulate your hand, and okay, what can I do?
And that's what the second paragraph does, allows for quite a bit of manipulation.
Like ending the turn's huge. It's something that is always pushed. This does it. I think this card's a real game turner. I'm saving this for later in the game when it's like do or die.
Yeah, choose up to 2 cards in his ringside, and he puts them in his hand, so you can choose 0, 1, or 2. So if he's heat or has some
Mhm.
other reversals like Divine Intervention in his ringside, you can put them in his hand
Mhm.
so that he can't play them from ringside or recover when you play an action. I'm not sure what other things you would want to put in his hand, but you can also put in 2 cards that he can't play yet. 2 trademarks if he's only at 10 fortitude, just to build up his hand so that you're lower for your superstar ability.
Or like back body drops.
Yeah.
Depending on what's in my ring
Trust
pile,
me,
the
if
thrust
they're
knee
there,
life.
yeah, if they forgot to do it one
Divine
time.
Intervention.
Yeah.
Like, let's get that. So you're
Yeah.
not, if I'm playing an action next turn, you're not getting that back in the arsenal. You
Yeah.
have to work for it. The majority of decks are running sustained damage.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's very situational, but this card, like, I dismiss, like I said before, I dismissed it right away, but through the Discord chat groups, the conversation started on his superstar, and I'm like, holy cow, like, these guys are really good. Like, their maneuvers are really cool. I kind of want to build them NWO, because it fits the whole kind of bullet club theme,
Yeah.
and they're getting run-in cards at -3, and all those NWO maneuver multis
Yeah.
are run-ins, so I mean, that kind of works with things, plus they're getting another min-match reversal with NWO, and then there's a whole lot. I'm going to tinker around with it. I'm happy with my AJ is now. I want to play a few games with it before I'm like, okay, satisfied with this, move on with it. But yeah, so who do you think you're going to build next, though? We have a Bailey that's going to be running around, flailing her arms.
Some look like someone's built Bailey. You're looking at AJ in the club. I'm leaning towards Drew McIntyre.
He's going to be annoying.
Yeah, I like that ability built around the one cards. His backstage area during any turn when you successfully play a printed Fortitude 1 or D1 card, choose one, draw up to 1 card, or your opponent puts 1 card from his hand on the bottom of his arsenal. So again, you're playing cards like just the beginning. Most people let those through because they just do 1D, nothing really else, right? Like, so now they do 1 damage. Potentially you're drawing a card from Premier SmackDown, and you have to lose a card or draw an additional card. You don't, like, wow.
Fortunately, it's not a random card they're losing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would be annoying.
But still, you play 3 or 4 of those in a row, they're losing 3 or 4 cards right away. I just mentioned earlier that I built Big E, and he's built around the Fortitude 5 or D5. So I like that concept, and same with Drew McIntyre with Fortitude 1 or D1 cards, they kind of do something special. So yeah, I think I'm going to do like Drew McIntyre.
I love the 1-for-5 bear hug chain maneuver.
Yeah.
I love it so much I can't remember what it does.
I don't love it. You only look at the top 5 cards and rearrange them.
But if you're doing like this is just the beginning.
I don't think I'd pack in Big E or Drew McIntyre, to be honest.
Oh yeah, that works with me.
Big E actually searches for it, I believe, but I'm just like, it's a 5D maneuver. I don't know. It might be a little more potent with Drew because you're playing cards that make him discard. So if you can get him down to 2 cards, sure.
But they're not discarding. They're putting it on the bottom. So they're not getting those booby traps. They're not getting those ego boosts. They're not getting those steel chain shots, and I can't be reading this right. So that combined with chain, I think could be pretty nasty. But I mean, it's just an option. We're just looking at one maneuver.
Yeah. But there's a bunch of fun stuff. And then he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 specifics that are all 1 fortitude or 1 damage. So it's pretty neat. Builds off all those things.
And I love the how they did also included in the virtual holiday set. They did a separate release for updated character cards. So we had a new Braun, Jinder, and Drew that really needed to stand out. Bailey's just a different background.
Right. Bailey's was the diva.
Oh, the diva style.
The diva style, but she's not a diva. But yeah.
Which that'll be interesting to see.
Going forward,
females going forward.
Female support, because I think they need a little more support than just the 2 cards they have right now with the revolutionizing the division.
But I mean, that is a must-pack card in any female.
Yeah.
The females also have they don't even get feminine wiles.
No,
so it's a
that's
diva
only
card.
Divas, yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, Drew McIntyre. He's on the list. He's on the list.
He just made your list. Okay. So we've cards of the show. We're going to change it up a little bit, and we're going to do a comparison of some classic versus virtual. These aren't really ones I run too often. I'm running the third one in our list here now just because of the theme of it. Do you want to lead us off, Scott?
Sure. So we have two classics in the virtual, and it's the Donnybrook theme. So the first classic card is Backstage Donnybrook. After you're in your opponent's pre-match phase, before the first turn of the game, all players set their hands aside, draw an equal number they set aside, and then shuffle the cards that they set aside into their arsenal. So big disruption. Rikishi, Brothers of Destruction, and Ric Flair draw 2 fewer cards. I haven't seen either of those 3 played in a very long time, but that was back when they were very, very powerful.
So the second one here is Restart the Match. This was a key card in the one AJ Styles game I played. After all players' pre-match phases, before the first turn of the game, if you reveal 1 chain, heat, or volley maneuver from your hand, choose 1. All players shuffle their ringside piles into their arsenals, or all players shuffle their hands into their arsenals and draw the same number of cards they had.
And then the virtual card that we are comparing them to, Old School Donnybrook. After all players' pre-match phases, before the first turn of the game, you may put your hand on the bottom of your arsenal and draw the same number of cards, and your opponent does the same. When Back to Basics is in your ring, you may choose 1 card from your hand to put on top of your arsenal instead of the bottom before you draw. So a little bonus there if you're a Back to Basics deck. All very separate, similar effects, but they're very different. Restart the Match, you shuffle it in before you redraw. Donnybrook, you completely set aside, redraw, and then shuffle them in. And Old School Donnybrook, you put everything on the bottom and then draw from the top. So with Donnybrook, you know the cards that are on the bottom, everything else, the other 2 cards, everything's mixed back in the deck.
Yeah.
Other than that, they can all be, I was going to say they could all be switcherooed, but you wouldn't really, like the Backstage Donnybrook can't be switcherooed, but you could switcheroo the Restart the Match and the Donnybrook, which kind of brings it to your control, where you can say whether you allow it or not, based on what you have.
The Backstage Donnybrook is a forced effect.
Yeah.
There's no avoiding it. I wouldn't pack this card. I mean, it was good in the time if, like, against Hard Being this original decks, when they were, a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I think this card's pretty irrelevant now.
I don't, you can't switcheroo it. Like, it's a forced thing, right? Whereas with Donnybrook, you can choose, which again is a benefit, but opponent switcheroos it, you lose that benefit.
Yeah, because they're not mandatory effects.
So, I mean, yeah, it depends what your deck wants to do.
I like Restart the Match because of the additional effect where you can make all players shuffle ringsides back in.
Yeah, if your opponent does a lot of damage, if they have a Kane deck where they make you overturn 6, you don't get your douchebag divine.
Or even if they're manipulating their ringside for their first few turns.
Yeah. Again, Devil's Favorite Demon, where you put all the hell cards in your ringside pile.
I'd rather play Restart the Match against Brothers of Destruction than Backstage Donnybrook.
This is true. Yeah, now you might want to if they're putting good cards in there. Against any Heat deck, Restart the Match wins because you can shuffle it in. So yeah, they're pretty neat. You said you pack Restart the Match. I definitely put Old School Donnybrook in my Back to Basics decks. It's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Backstage Donnybrook, I actually added it in a deck into the Devil's Favorite Demon deck that I played a few months back, and I'm certain that it won me the tournament. Against RVD, he had to search for 3 other cards, not really 3 cards that he wanted, right? I mean, it was a well-built deck, so he still had other options, like searching for Can't Cheat an Honest Man, and other cards that didn't need to be played first turn, but it's so disruptive.
Well, and not only that, they can't shuffle their arsenal, so unless they find a way to shuffle it, all those cards in their opening hand, they're not going to see for a while.
Exactly.
So if you get an opening hand of a Once Is Enough and 2 Revos, those are 3 less reversals that you're going to have.
Yeah, that's at the Old School one. That they put them on the bottom.
Well, same with Backstage Donnybrook.
They shuffle them in after they draw their hand.
Oh, I totally missed that. Oh, yeah.
But still, right? Like
Yeah. They're all very different for different circumstances. I think it's really reliant on how you're building your deck.
Yeah.
Where if you're kind of just drawing your hand and hoping for the best kind of, like if you've got a big hand size and you're just drawing it all up, then Backstage Donnybrook will be good to have in your
The
back.
scary part is when your opponent draws the bad hand and then Donnybrook's into a better hand. That's when it sucks. And that's happened many a times. Like, usually opponents aren't or are willing to gloat about that. Oh, I got a better hand, thanks a lot. And you're like, son of a...
Or it could be a poker face thing,
yeah,
too.
it could be, but...
Like, have you ever done that where it's like, you backstage signing appearance, a card underneath, draw a great card, and you're like, why did I just draw this?
I don't really do that.
Oh, well, you gotta play all the games to draw deal.
I do curse every time I put a card under for backstage and draw Divine.
That happened to be with Trish Stratus
That's
last
exactly what I did though. Throw the hand up in the air, you gotta be kidding me. But yeah, I don't really do poker faces. Maybe I'll practice for FunkCon and Gencon, but...
But yeah, I think, different flavor of card for different flavors of decks.
Yeah. I don't really have a preference.
Mm.
I'd lean more towards old school Donnybrook, I think, because it's a choice. Restart the match, you have to have a chain, heat, or volley maneuver in your hand, right? So if you're playing another pre-match just to search for that, like that's a valuable resource to use just to do that. If you don't mind, or if you know that you're going to draw into them, it's a little bit different,
But you're revealing it, so you're not losing that card from hand if you choose to draw a new hand. You reveal one chain heat or volley maneuver, so when you shuffle it in, you're redrawing the same amount.
Yeah.
And even if you want to get rid of the ringside pile, you're like, I have this, get rid of your ringside pile, and now you're not going to volley trait me turn one.
Yeah, it's really good if you're doing the shuffling in from ringside for that reason, for sure. Cool stuff.
All
Let us
right.
know which one you prefer on Twitter and Facebook and
Everywhere you see
everywhere on
Backlash
social media.
Podcast.
Yeah.
But let's wrap that up for today. We have one more thing to say, and it's a shout out to Mike Cassidy, and this is because he asked.
Hi, Mike.
All right. I'm Eric.
And I'm Scott.
Keep raw dealing.
Woo!
See you guys.